Hello, everyone, and welcome to Politically Unhinged. As always, I am your host, Anthony Rader, and let's get to business. Yes. So, there has been a lot of things going on with voting already, particularly with like the voting laws and actually some fraudulent ballots already coming in numerous different swing states. It's just earlier this week, a Chinese citizen who is actually going to school here in the US actually went ahead and casted a ballot for Kamala Harris. Now, this person in the has already gone through the process. And they requested their ballot back, right? Unfortunately, they got caught. I'm saying unfortunately for the Democrats there, they got caught and, and but the silver lining for them, though, for the Democrats, is that vote is still going to count. But the state of Michigan has already said that vote's still going to count for them, which is complete bullshit, by the way. That vote is not allowed legally, but it's still going to count in the state of Michigan. Now, let's go ahead and cover the good news that we are seeing with everything going on with, the election. So, Republicans are up tremendously during the early vote right now, and it is fantastic. It's a great day to be a Trumper. But there has been a lot of stuff going on with the legal issues of voter registration and purging inactive voters or voters that are not supposed to be listed because, they're either dead or illegal. Now, this happened actually in the state of Virginia. Now, in the state of Virginia, as you all know, you have seen the headlines that, Virginia is getting a lot more competitive, and thus the Kamala Harris campaign is worried. So they're going to go ahead and, it's just terrible. How's things going to work for the hurricane communities where everything is wrecked? Those are red states. Yes. So with that, some information that I've gotten with the hurricanes states. Thank you, Jake, for bringing that up. So information that I got there is that they went ahead and they, made early voting a lot longer for those states, and they're going to have a bit more extended hours on election day. Hey, particularly in North Carolina and in the regions that were completely decimated and are completely wrecked and with the mishandling from the Kamala Harris and Joe Biden administration. All right, but let's get back to Virginia. So, in the state of Virginia, what's going on with the voter rolls? What has happened is that the Democrats say, hey, you don't have any power to go ahead and take these voters off the voter rolls when you're actually supposed to be purging the voter rolls about every 2 years. It's a good practice to do it every 2 years. Why don't they talk about how the Dems spend millions on people to talk bad about Trump, but the hurricane victims only get $750? So that is a good question, Connor. So the reason why they are not talking about that quite frankly, is that it's only going to really affect a few states where Trump is already winning. Now, I'm not on the Trump campaign. I do have some insider information on it, though. They just don't see it necessarily as a winning strategy, which I don't understand why. But it's primarily because they want to focus on what matters in those blue wall states so they can get to 270. Even though what I already have for Trump's floor, y'all, is 272 electoral votes. And by the way, Trump has already, oh, but yeah. So, I do want to talk about why they talk bad about Trump, though. So the reason why they talk bad about Trump is, They think it's a winning strategy, but that strategy is not going to affect the election whatsoever. And, well, these people are just morons, in all honesty. These people are morons. They don't know the voting demographic. They don't know which people are actually going to go out there. And, well, it's just that is how it is. Krabby Turtle over on YouTube says, what's the path if Trump doesn't get PA? So let me go ahead and pull up 270 to win for y'all. And we'll go ahead and fill out that map for you. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. All right. Now, this is Trump's path forward if he does not win Pennsylvania, which he likely will. I do want to go ahead and stress that. So, here we got our competitive states right here. Here we got, motherfucker, I hate this thing. So we got all of our competitive states right here, right? Reason why I marked off Virginia. Virginia is going to be a one to watch on election night, but it will ultimately tilt Democrat. But let's go ahead and say Trump gets the states that we already know he's going to get. He's got a clean sweep in the Sun Belt. All right, we can even give him Nevada, even though that doesn't really matter. So Trump's path forward for this election cycle. So as we see, we got the blue walls right here. So Trump actually just needs to win one of all states. So Trump's path forward, let's say Kamala Harris does in fact get Pennsylvania, like God forbid she does. The thing is, though, is that Wisconsin is a state that is trending more to the right. It's each poll. Hold on. So Trump will end up winning Wisconsin. And as long as he gets these southern states right here, he wins. He's got to go ahead. He's got to pick up Arizona with it. Because if he doesn't pick up Arizona, and let's say Arizona goes blue. But he wins Nevada. It's 267, and he has to ultimately pick up the state of Michigan, which is a good outcome for Donald Trump. However, what I think the map will look like on Election Day is that we got a 312 to 226 victory for Donald John Trump. And, well, this is what I ultimately think will happen. But I will not be surprised if we go ahead and let's say Michigan goes ahead and falls into the Democratic category along with Nevada. Trump's floor is 272 electoral votes. That is his floor. His ceiling is about 320 something. His ceiling's isn't it the 320s? But yes, Virginia is looking a lot more interesting. But yep. So B-Dog, just do want to go ahead and specify. So if Wisconsin does go Trump, Michigan doesn't necessarily mean it will go red. Michigan is the most liberal of those three blue wall states. So what will probably ultimately happen is that Donald Trump will go ahead and win Wisconsin, and he'll lose the two others. Donald Trump just has to pick up one of the blue wall states. That's why the blue wall is so significant in this election cycle, and why all the voter rolls that and all this new stuff that's coming out is so significant. And so I want to go ahead and talk about the voter rolls that has just happened in Virginia. This is breaking news, I believe, as of yesterday, where Virginia has officially purged 1,600 voters. Now, these are people that, like I said, are dead or they registered illegally. So these people obviously will not be able to vote, and the Democrats are mad because they cannot use their legal ballots. That's, but this election cycle will not be coming down to the wire with, okay, what were the fraudulent ballots? It's not going to go ahead and come down to that. That it is going to be a very close election, no matter what. But we are also looking at Donald Trump winning the popular votes as well, because he is officially ahead in the popular vote with the national polling averages. And Nate Silver has already upped Trump's likelihood of winning to around 60%. If you want to go ahead and you want to use Nate Silver, a lot of people say that he is the most trusted pollster and person that comes out with the outcomes, but I don't necessarily say that. I personally like looking at the markets and doing my own research. Early mail-in ballots look good for Trump in Virginia. Yes, they do. So looking at the mail-in voting with majority of the states, it looks great for Trump. Now, the problem is that are those actually votes that would have actually gotten voted on election day? That is what we are worried about, folks. We have to know if these are actual votes that would have happened on election day or not, because if you went ahead and you voted early, and you are already planning to vote on election day, let's say, it's not going to do a significant outcome. For instance, in Georgia, my good friend Political Education has already said that in Georgia, it is already people that would have been voting on election day according to the voter rolls. So for those of you that don't know, right, your voting history is public information, and us people that work on campaigns, we can go ahead and see how often do you vote? Do you vote early? Stuff like that. The thing is that Trump has to get that low propensity voters out. And Trump does have that special power to go ahead and do that. That is Trump's superpower. It is weird. It is bizarre. Trump is able to get these low propensity voters out there. But the problem is this time, this election cycle, we are in a weird limbo now. Usually, when we say that if it's a low voter or outreach, low voter outcome, it's better in our favor as the Republicans. If it's higher, it's better for the Democrats. We're in a situation now is that if there is low voter turnout, it's going to be better for Kamala Harris. So we're hoping on higher voter turnout this election in these swing states, especially with the blue-collared workers, because they will predominantly lean more Trump. Now, so let's go ahead and talk about more about the voting laws that are going on right now. So Alabama's voting laws did get turned down, but it's also ultimately getting repealed by the Supreme Court and will be heard very shortly. And we can expect more voters to be purged from Alabama. In Pennsylvania, Bucks County, the early voting was extended to today until 5 p.m. because of a police officer who was telling people not to vote. This police officer was telling people not to vote in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, saying, "Oh, it's going to take too long, blah, blah, blah." You motherfucker. Like, you can't be doing that. That is illegal, and these people, in all honesty, it's illegal, and they should have your badge. But let's also talk about the things that have happened on the news today. So everyone loves ABC, right? So over on ABC, they went ahead and they showed that Kamala Harris will be the winner in Pennsylvania. So isn't it great? In the UK, they are arresting people for praying in their heads. Annette, can you please send me that information? I am definitely interested in seeing that. I'll even reach out to you after this live stream, so just be on the lookout. All right. But as I was saying, ABC has officially said that, like, well, Kamala Harris has won Pennsylvania by a 5-point margin. The thing is that Pennsylvania is a swing state. A 5-point margin for a swing state is not going to happen this election cycle. That is ultimately impossible to happen. And now, well, let's say if Kamala Harris does win Pennsylvania, or basically either candidate wins Pennsylvania, it will only be from anywhere from like a quarter of a percentage point to 2 points. This is going for about majority of all the swing states. Arizona and Georgia will most likely go to Trump, about 3 to 4% at most. They said it was a mistake and they were testing their systems. Oh, yeah, that's exactly what they were doing. We all know what ABC was doing. We all know it. It is great to see that ABC is floundering because they know they're getting called out for their bullshit finally, and that the American people are not settling with them. Now, another thing I want to talk about something that just came out not too long ago. Oh. So the RNC just stopped Michigan Democrats from counting 168,000 duplicate ballots. All right, so this was reported yesterday by the RNC, and they acted quickly to fix it, apparently. But 168,000 duplicate ballots, that is enough to sway the election in Michigan. So the Dems were ready to go ahead and do this already. They had no problem to go ahead and say, hey, we're going to go ahead and use the duplicate ballots again, because that's exactly what they did back in 2020. The only problem is that the American people aren't buying into this bullshit rhetoric anymore. And, well, it's a good thing that we have people that are actually competent being the head of the RNC. It's been far too long for us. The RNC is finally competent again. It's the first time the RNC is competent since the 80s. In all honesty, yeah, it's a good thing that the RNC can actually do its fucking job. Now, if only the state Republican parties can get their ass in gear. For instance, like in Arizona, not going ahead and, I don't know, nominating people that don't have a shot in hell of winning elections in the down ballot races. Look, I personally like Gary Lake, but she is not a strong candidate in the state of Arizona at this time. She would have been about 10, 15 years ago. But in this current state that Arizona is in, she is not. Unfortunately, she is not. Now, what every single state needs to do, they need to look at Florida. They need to look at Florida for the election laws and for, well, basically everything. Florida's fucking fantastic. You need to go ahead and look at Florida and how the Republicans turned a state that was literally purple and turned it red. If people can go ahead and actually clone that in every state, we're going to be fine. Matter of fact, Maryland probably would be a lot more competitive. But the problem is that on our local levels, there's a messaging problem. On our state, and there's a messaging problem. It's that simple. Now, unfortunately, we can't go ahead and say, like, oh, let's get this fixed because the incompetence that we have with these people. But that's neither here nor there. But we are getting ready for a great election cycle, y'all. Tuesday is going to actually be the day where I believe we're going to actually hear who wins. Yep, Maryland is indeed influenced by the swamp. It's awful here. But a lot of it's the messaging that we need to get down point blank in our local parties is and go ahead and nominate good candidates. Keep in mind, Arizona used to be blood red, and then their messaging got off. It's all about messaging, and we all need to realize that. All right. But we also got to just look at everything for what it is. It's insane that everyone has said that it's fine that these states are changing voter laws last minute again in competitive states, by the way. Pennsylvania, they actually tried another bill and thankfully didn't go through. There was a bill in Pennsylvania where they were trying to change the voter laws for the next election, for this election, including the next several. Basically, in Pennsylvania, they wanted to go ahead and basically make it like all mail-in. But it's whatever, right? We're not supposed to know this stuff. Now, in the state, I believe it was Washington, Seattle. Yes. See, Connor says, I don't get why people vote for her when she has been caught in so many lies, but backs McDonald's vote, etc. Oh my god, that was so funny where they went ahead and they just photoshopped her on a McDonald's photo. They didn't even change the skin tone, by the way. They didn't even try. This looks like a Photoshop that like I could do. But oh my god, that was one of the worst Photoshops I've ever seen. It looked like a Photoshop where like AI, they asked AI, they like went into Chat GPT and they said, "Hey, can you go ahead and put Kamala Harris's face on this woman?" Oh my god. Whoever freaking photoshopped that thing is a freaking moron. Oh, there's no way that people weren't going to see this. That photo was circulating the internet just a few years ago. If I remember correctly, it was a meme. Good Lord. We're not supposed to know any of this stuff, though. We're just supposed to go ahead and say everything's good and not question it. The liberals have gone so far that they are losing their base. They used to say that their base was predominantly minority, and now it's not. The minorities are swaying more to the Republican side than ever. Oh my god, Connor says her book was plagiarized. Oh my god, that was funny. Her book was all plagiarized from Wikipedia. It was fantastic. But anyway, Democrats like to say that their base it was predominantly minority, and now it isn't. That your minorities are swaying more to the Republican Party. Yeah. And quite frankly, LBJ was right when he said, I will have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 100 years. Here we are. It's nearly 100 years later, and these people are finally waking up once again. They are noticing the distress that the Democrat Party has had on them. They are noticing what has been going on in these last several decades and how Their lives have gotten worse every single time a Democrat is voted into office. Keep in mind, all right? For some reason, people don't like to look at policy and they want to look at fucking feelings now. It's ridiculous. The way that you should vote needs to be on logistics. You need to be logical. You can't go ahead and just vote on feeling and vote for the other person just because you think they're an asshole. Quite frankly, I don't give a shit about the dude's personality. Donald Trump could be the biggest asshole and tell everyone to go fuck themselves while he goes on stage. He just opens up every single freaking rally and goes like, hey, fuck all of you. And well, if his policies are still what they are, I'm voting for the dude. Thing is that personality doesn't matter. It doesn't matter so much that the Dems went ahead and put the person that literally has a personality of a plastic bag as their nominee. You know what? I take that back. A plastic bag is more interesting than Kamala Harris. At least a plastic bag actually serves a purpose. Kamala Harris is as good as the fucking glory hole in your old high school bathroom. That's how good as she is. How about she got enforced by Iran and Vladimir? Yep. Yeah. Yep. She did get endorsed by them. I actually covered that, and well, Democrats don't like to talk about it. They also don't want to talk about how she was also endorsed by the person that actually was the head of the Project 2025 book. They don't like to talk about that. You see all these Dems saying, stop Project 2025, but why was she endorsed by the guy? She was endorsed by the guy that was the head of Project 2025. That's what you guys should do, by the way, all right? Next few days, when you see a Stop Project 2025 yard sign, go ahead and knock on their door and tell them about it. Go ahead and bring up the article. It'll be fantastic. But no, these people, unfortunately, don't understand the logistics behind governance. And that's what is the problem with all of these states, the reason why we're having this problem. The lack of governance is the reason why America is how it is right now. The lack of governance is the reason why we have all of these fucking problems. The lack of governance is why Donald Trump ran in 2016 and won. It's also the reason why I went ahead and voted him for a third freaking time. So, no, it's the lack of governance that is going on in every single state in the country. Hell, you could say every fucking country in the world. The lack of governance is the reason why everyone is having problems. The lack of governance is the reason why we had Donald John Trump win in 2016, and it's going to be the same very reason why he wins by a bigger margin on Tuesday night. Trump is going to win on Tuesday night by a bigger margin than ever. Trump is going to win Texas by the biggest margin he's ever had. Trump is going to win Florida by the biggest margin we've ever seen since the 70s. And this is because those states also have good governance. But people don't like to go ahead and point out that is the logistical reason why we have these people in power. My father and I were talking about it. How do some of these people get the job? All these people that lack in governance, how do they get the job? Well, it's because they can campaign really well, and when they just get elected, they shit their pants. And quite frankly, that's how it is. Is he going to beat Reagan's 1984 record in the Electoral College? No way in hell. We're not going to see that. But let's see. Vegas. let's see, I think in 1984, Florida was red. It was safe red. Florida. Okay. I can't remember what the polls were. Okay, so 65%. Okay. All right, so it's going to be the biggest margin since we've seen Reagan. And I misspoke there. It's going to be the biggest margin since then. And Trump is not going to go ahead and beat a 30-point margin in Florida, but he's going to win Florida by about 15 points. Florida's going to be in the safely red category, folks. It's going to be in the safety red. Trump is not going to win by 525 electoral votes. He probably would have if Joe Biden was still in the race. But what Trump is ultimately going to win by, according to my predictions, he's going to win by 312 electoral votes. That is the most likely outcome for Donald Trump right now. But we are going to go ahead and see a great thing on Tuesday. I know that these states are saying that they're not going to have their results on election night, which is complete bullshit, by the way. Like, I'm sorry. It's the year 2024, and we're not going to know who our president-elect is going to be? Bullshit. What's with the polls saying that she's winning by like 0.5 to 0.7, but then have some where it has him winning? Them based sources. So what is happening with those polls? That's why I don't trust them, all right? What happened is that the pollsters just don't want to go ahead and be wrong. That's why they're going ahead and they're basically having them tied so they can say, oh, see, we didn't get it wrong this time. Okay. The ones that are going ahead and saying that, well, look, Harris is up by several points in this swing state, those are your Dem-based ones. Now, if we're going to go ahead and look at the real things, then yeah, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine, y'all. And quite frankly, if we keep on looking at the right things, we're going to be fine. But the thing is that we cannot go ahead and stop. We can't stop it. If you haven't voted yet, make sure you have time on election day. Go early. Go as early as you can and bring 2 friends and a hobo. Bring your 2 friends and a hobo and make sure you all vote red. Make sure you're voting for Donald John Trump so we can win this election. But getting back to the polling stuff. So what happens with polling, I'm going to teach you how it works, y'all. All right? What happens with polling is pretty simple. Well, they go ahead, and I'm actually going to share my screen for this so you guys can see the math. Let's see if I can. And we'll go ahead and get it on Google. So what happens when they go ahead and say, hey, let's look at the voting, people. First, they go ahead, they come out with their outcome that they want, right? Okay, I don't give a shit. Come out with the outcome they want. All right, so let's say they want Harris to lead by a lean margin. All right. So they go ahead and say, hey, what's going to happen? We're going to go ahead. We're going to poll 1,000 people. So what they're going to do, they're going to get into their vote. They're going to get in their voting base. They're going to look at the public records and see how did these people vote. So, so, so in this, you got your strong Dem, you got your lean Dem, you got your independents who are literally in the middle, right? We're just going to call them that. Then same thing with the right. You got your lean rep and your strong rep. All right. So they're pulling 1,000 people. So what they're going to go ahead and do, they want Kamala Harris to win by a lean margin. So logically, you think, well, what they're going to do, they're going to do a 200, 200, 200, 200, all down the board, right? But that gives you your statistical tie, right? So instead, what they're going to do, they're going to go ahead. They're going to have your Dems, your strong Dems. They're going to go ahead. They're going to have 300 strong Dems. They might even go ahead and put, let's say, hey, let's have 150 lean Dems right there. So right there, then they're going to go, hey, we want another 150 independents. So right there, we got. So right there, this is our lean margin, let's say. Got 600, and that's your lean margin. Our early voting results in. So early voting results are not technically in. All that we know is what registered voters have gone into. So you're not going to see the actual ballot counts. But what you will see is the early voting. I mean, it's like the percentage and how many people have voted. So you're not going to see exactly it. So what it is that if we're going to, for instance, we're going to go back, we're going to. So keep in mind, this is according to NBC. So we don't have anything on Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky, Missouri, and DC. But let's go ahead. Let's look at the state of Arizona. All right. So this is all the information we get. All right. We don't know how these people have voted. All that we know is that while these are the amounts of ballots are casted and how and what party they were in. We also get their age demographic and gender and their vote type. All right. That's all that we get. We do not go ahead and see the results for early voting. That would be against election law, and it would deter people from not voting on election day again. Good. So same thing. Let's go ahead and look at a different state for you. So if we look at Virginia. So early voting in Virginia. Yeah. Why the hell did this? There we go. Like I said, same thing. We only see the percentage of it. Now, with early voting being up with the Republicans in about every state, it's looking good for Donald Trump. However, the messaging did not get through in Pennsylvania. But that does not necessarily mean that Kamala Harris will win the state. The thing is that we shouldn't go ahead and be looking at the early voting count because ultimately it does not really matter. The early vote count is just something that we got going on and just something that, well, we just look at basically because why the fuck not? But like I said, in Florida, it is up tremendously for Donald Trump and the Republicans. Same thing with Michigan and Wisconsin. And now in Nevada, Republicans made really big gains in Nevada when it came to early voting. In Nevada, Republicans were down such an extraordinary amount. And now, well, we're up in early voting now. So, thing is, y'all, it's just we got to understand is that early voting doesn't really mean anything in these elections because the votes are not going to get counted. One of the only states that actually does count the early voting while it's happening is Florida. And that is only because Florida changed their election laws to the best in the freaking country, by the way, in 2000 under Jeb Bush. That's the only reason and why we would have results for like Florida. But all that you're going to get is the amount of ballots that have been casted, unfortunately. We can always just speculate in saying that this is good for Donald Trump, but we don't necessarily know. But we could say that it's good for either side, but like I said, we don't know. But looking just at the pure data, we're looking at a good Trump electoral victory on Tuesday. Now, these states can go ahead and say all that they want, saying we're not going to have our results until Wednesday. It's complete bullshit. They are going to have the results on Tuesday, and well, they're just going to do some manipulation. That's what it really is. Yes. All right, y'all. So make sure you guys join me tomorrow. So I will be live again tomorrow. That will be at 10 p.m. Eastern. Or no, I'll be live at 10 p.m. Eastern tomorrow and 8 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. Sunday, I am canceling the podcast on Sunday. I have some personal things to attend to. So, but we will be back here on Monday and possibly covering the election on Tuesday. Not making any promises to be actually covering the election because I got some things up in the air right now. Oh. But everything is looking great for Donald Trump this election cycle. And well, it's going to be a good time for him. So just be ready to see them announce Donald Trump being the 47th president of the United States on Tuesday. Thank you all, and God bless.